Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. This is Muhammad Atif and this is the summary of today's lesson. Today we completed activity E, English Student Book, Unit 1, page number 10 and 11. Yesterday we started speaking activity, showing preferences and making suggestions. And we discussed first of all briefly about the showing preferences and making suggestions, and I've discussed the vocabulary, the definitions of preferences and suggestions. So preference means a greater desire or choice for someone or something than another person or thing. And suggestion is an idea or plan that someone suggests. So these are the definitions that we have discussed yesterday, and I've discussed it today again so the students can understand better. After that we started the activity 3, and activity 3 was about think of more ways to show a preference and to make a suggestion. And I asked the students to copy the table below and add more phrases and compare your answers with your partner. So they gave me some of their answers, some of their choices, and they, they shared their ideas about how they can describe or how they can show their preference and how they can make a suggestion. And they use some different phrases like for example, they told me about how to make a preference or how to show a preference by using I would like to or I would rather. And about the suggestion they shared, why don't we and let's do it, and I suggest, how about or what about going. So these are some example phrases that the students shared with me in the class, and you can also make your own suggestions and preferences according to the situation. So after discussion on activity 3, we started activity 4, and activity 4 was about the track number 2. And the question was, usually when we show a preference for something or we make a suggestion, we also give a reason, like why I want to suggest this thing or why I make a preference. So in our track yesterday we discussed the conversation between Maria and Christos, and today we discussed the reasons, like what reason does Maria give for wanting to go to the shopping center later, and what reason does Christos give for for wanting to go to the shopping center at the weekend. So to answer this question, I have included the audio track again. So this is the track.
Unit 1, E, Speaking, Activity 1.
Hi, Christos. How are you?
Hey, Maria. I'm really great. What about you?
Everything's fine. Why don't we go to the shopping centre later? I want to see if I can get some new trainers.
Yes, we could do that, but I'd rather go at the weekend. Can you wait until then?
I suppose so. But why?
Well, I get paid for my part-time job tomorrow, so I'll have some money to spend.
Fair enough. So let's go at the weekend instead. But what are we going to do today?
So that was the track, and after listening to the track, the students shared the answers. Like Maria wants to buy new trainer shoes, so that's why she wants to go. That's why she suggested Christos to go to the shopping center later. And Christos wants to go to the shopping center at the weekend because he will get paid from his part-time job. So after that, we discussed the answers for activity E1 and E4, and I displayed the answers to the class. After that, we discussed the language tip activity, language tip box on page number 10. And there are three possibilities to make a preference or suggestions. Three structures. Okay, so first structure is we start our sentence with phrase, with suggestion phrase or with preference phrase. Then we write the infinitive. Infinitive is the base form of the verb. Okay. The second structure is that we start our sentence same like the first structure with preference phrase or suggestion phrase, and then we add to infinitive, to plus base form of the verb. Then we we can make our preference or suggestion by starting our sentence with suggestion phrase or preference phrase, and then we can add ing form of the verb. So these are the three basic structures. By using these structures, we can suggest or we can prefer things. Okay, so after this, I'm gonna explain it with the help of this table. Okay, so these are the example sentences, so don't no need to be worried about these sentences. Okay, just focus on the structure, and the structure is preference phrase. This is called preference phrase, like don't, why don't we, let's, I suggest we, can't we, I think we should, I would rather. These are the phrases that we use to prefer or to suggest. Okay, and after that we use the infinitive. Infinitive means base form of the verb. This is the example verb, do. Do is a verb. Okay, but this is the example, like why don't we do. You can also write here why don't we go. Okay, you can also write here why don't we drink. Okay, so you can use any base form of the verb with this in this structure. Then the second structure is you will say why don't you like, then we use to before our base form of the verb, like why don't you, would you like to do, would you like to go, would you like to drink. Okay, so you can change this base form of the verb according to your example. This is just example, and this is this is for us to understand the structure. Then the third structure is by starting our sentence with preference phrase or suggestion phrase, like what do you think about. This is the suggestion phrase, what do you think about. Okay, and then the ing form of the verb, doing. What do you think about doing homework, what do you think about drinking coffee, what do you think about going to shopping center. Okay, going to the shopping center. So these are the examples, and these are the three structures. By using these structures, we can construct the sentence of showing, to show our preference and phrases, suggestions. Then after that we discussed activity 5, in which I gave the class some suggestions. Okay, I made some suggestions, and the students replied me with their preferences. For example, I asked them, how about playing basketball later today later. Okay, so the students told me about their preferences, and they use these preferences were phrases like I would rather, I would prefer, I would prefer to stay at home this morning, or I would prefer to stay at home today later, or I would prefer to play right now. So these are the phrases students use to answer my suggestions with their preferences. And after that, we discussed the activity 6, and activity 6 is about the writing practice. And in this writing practice, I asked the students to write uh, a short speech about a land near to the school, and they have to construct, they have to write, and they have to show their preferences and reasons for the development of the land. So that's all for today's lesson. Thank you very much for joining. Allah Hafiz.